What's up, divers? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing well. Helldivers just dropped a massive update. So in this video, we'll be going over all the changes and I'm gonna try to show you all the changes because I do not have everything unlocked yet. This update mainly focuses on balance changes to weapons, stratagems, and enemies. Okay, let's start with the general changes. Armor with armor rating above 100 now also reduce damage on headshots, which means you won't get one-tapped by the automatons anymore. Victory poses will now only be played for the extracted, no stolen valor on my ship. I actually like that feature, it's kind of funny. They also reduce burning damage by 15%. Now they were not really specific here, so I think just in general. So friendly fire, enemy fire, and I think also maybe the fire tornadoes will deal a lot less damage. The CB9 exploding crossbow got a slightly smaller explosion, increased stagger, decreased the number of maximum mags from 12 to 8, increased the number of magazines received from a resupply from 6 to 8, slight reduction in ergonomics, and they also increase its muzzle velocity. Now personally, I do not own this weapon yet, so I cannot really comment on how good it was or how good it has become, but from the footage I've seen, it seems pretty okay. A bit slow for my taste though. Next up, we have the last 99 Quasar cannon. A lot of people are unhappy about this change. They increased the recharge time by 5 seconds. Now this change was discussed a lot. Some people are saying the reload time was increased by 5 seconds. Some people say the cooldown time was increased by 5 seconds. And some say the charge time was increased by 5 seconds. After testing this out myself in a match, it basically means that the reload time is increased by 5 seconds. And that's actually not that bad. I thought it was going to be the charge time. I mean, this thing takes up no ammo at all. So it's still a very, very powerful weapon. The BR-14 Agitator full auto is now the default firing mode. Reduce the recoil, increase the maximum mag from 6 to 8, increase the number of magazines received from a resupply from 6 to 8, and now placed among assault rifles. This thing just got a massive buff. Now, unfortunately, I also don't have this weapon, so I can't show you the difference, but looks pretty good to me. Next up, we have the last 98 laser cannons. They slightly increase the damage and slightly reduce damage versus large volume bodies. Now, I've tried the laser cannon and it still feels very underwhelming for me. There's no reason to use the laser cannon if the Quasar is an option. I was hoping this laser cannon would be a lot more effective because in Crossout, I love lasers like the Destructors, and even in Command & Conquer Generals, I used to love Laser General. So for a while, I ran a full laser setup, like with the last 98, the guard dog with the laser, and a secondary with a laser. Even had the orbital strike and everything. Like, I went full laser, but unfortunately, the last 98 was very underwhelming. Next up, we have the SG-8 Punisher Plasma. Decrease the maximum mags from 12 to 8. They increase the amount of magazines received from a resupply from 6 to 8. Increase the projectile speed, but will keep a similar range. Decrease damage fall off on the explosion. And now placed in the energy weapons category. Today, I tried this thing out for the first time and it feels pretty powerful, man. I like this thing. Next up, we have the ARC 12 Blitzer. Increase the shots per minute from 30 to 45. And now it's placed in the energy weapons category. I'm not gonna lie, I unlocked this thing last night and I thought it was an electric M249 saw machine gun. And it was just gonna fire like electric arcs. But it's actually like a tap firing thing, which is okay. It's still pretty powerful. Next up, we have the R36 Eruptor. When this thing first came out, a lot of people liked this thing. And yep, it's getting a nerf. Decrease the number of maximum mags from 12 to 6. Massive ammo nerf. And the explosion damage drops off slightly faster. So this thing got a massive nerf. Unfortunately, I never got to try it out when it was super powerful, but hopefully it's still pretty decent. For the last 16 cycles, they decreased the amount of magazines from 6 to 3. That's quite aggressive. And for the last 5 sight, they increased the damage from 300 to 350, and they decreased the max number of mags from 6 down to 4. You guys might notice a trend here. So what I've heard is they're trying to make ammo a bit more scarce, so the fight for ammo becomes a bit harder. Now, from personal experience with the right setup, you basically never have to worry about ammo. There's enough ammo around the map and the supply drops, so maybe this will help to make things a bit harder. But with the right setup, I don't think it will matter. Next up, we have the RS-422 Railgun. They increase the armor penetration in both safe mode and unsafe mode, and the stagger force is slightly reduced. Next up, we have the MG-101 Heavy Machine Gun, third-person crosshair enabled. Yeah, when I started this game, I picked up a heavy machine gun and there was no crosshair. So even with a crosshair, this thing has so much kick that it doesn't really shoot where the crosshair is at anyways. You have to like aim so much down. Next up, we have both marksman rifle. I think marksman rifles are very unpopular because they're so bad. First off, the R63CS, Diligence Counter Sniper Rifle. Damage increased from 128 to 140 and also ergonomics improved. And for the R63 Diligence, damage increased from 112 to 125. I still don't think these are gonna see a lot of play because they're so bad. The P19 Redeemer got a slight increase in recoil. This was my go-to secondary for the longest time, and it is so amazing. The starting secondary, the P2 Peacemaker, increased damage from 60 to 75. The P8 Senator increased damage from 150 to 175, and a speed loader was added when reloading on an empty cylinder. Speeds up the reload on empty considerably, which is very nice. For the last 7 Dagger, increased damage from 150 to 200. Like I said, I was running a full Razor setup, and this was very weak, so I'm happy with this change. For the AR-90 Liberator, damage increased from 55 to 60. For the AR-23C Liberator, damage increased from 55 to 65. For the JAR 5 Dominator, this was my go-to, my favorite weapon, damage decreased from 300 to 275. Yeah, this thing was really strong. For the AX/AR-23 Guard Dog, damage was decreased by 30%. For the RL-77 Airburst Rocket Launcher, now the Airburst Rocket Launcher will no longer detonate when shot near stratagems like the heavy machine gun turret, sentries, or resupply drops. Oh yeah, and other helldivers. And they also reduced the proximity radius. For the AMG-43 machine gun sentry, increased the health to match other sentries. For the ARC-3 Tesla Tower, increased its health by 33%. For the FAF-14 Spear, added a reload stage after the spent missile has been discarded. And now for the changes to the enemies. The Bile Spewer and the Nursing Spewer movement speed was slightly reduced. I never really had an issue with this, just their spit was kind of annoying, but other than that, they were fine. They're buffing the Hulks a little bit. The force required to stagger them is slightly increased, but they're also nerfing the fire damage for the Hulk Scorcher. Direct flamethrower damage reduced by 20%. Fire damage in this game is extremely powerful, so I'm wondering if the previous fire nerf also... Now, I'm wondering if the 15% reduced fire damage mentioned previously will also stack up with the Hulk Scorcher fire nerf, because that would mean we get 35% less fire damage if these guys hit us. Devastator fire rate slightly increased, which doesn't really matter, they're a weak enemy type anyways. The gunship sideway movement slightly increased, okay. The Scout Riders are now less vulnerable to explosions, so usually how I dealt with these guys was one shot with an autocannon or one random impact grenade. I hope that still works, because if not, it's gonna be a pain to deal with them now. Gunship spawners now have a much lower cap on how many gunships they can have active at the same time. Oh, that was just cool for a bit cooler cinematic effect. But maybe it was causing some server issues. They're also increasing enemy patrols if you're trying to solo missions. So patrol spawning has been increased when there are fewer than 4 players. The fewer players there are, the bigger the change. For the 4-player missions, there will be no change compared to before. The biggest noticeable change will be for solo players at higher difficulty. So if you're trying to solo it up on Helldive difficulty, good luck, man. Now we're moving on to the gameplay changes. They made minor level generation improvements to how we distribute locations throughout the mission map. This should improve variations in distance between objectives, and objectives will likely not spawn as far away from each other as often as before. Yeah, that, not a big deal, but the closer the better, I guess. Added a setting in the option menu, gameplay section, to disable automatic climbing and vaulting while sprinting. Oh yeah, this is good change, because that was kind of annoying. The spread to democracy mission, otherwise known as Raise a Big Flag, can now be enjoyed at higher difficulties for the maximum freedom of spreading. When readying up, Helldivers now salute to ensure maximum democratic readiness. That is so good. Added ambience to the tremor planetary hazard to underline the severity so Helldivers can react accordingly. Oh, this one's gonna be interesting. Shots that ricochet from heavy armored enemies will now properly hit the Helldiver who fired them. Trigger discipline is highly... Whoa. This is gonna be nasty. Because if someone was loading my autocannon, I would always spam my shots randomly. But man, imagine an autocannon shot getting deflected back to me. Oh, that's gonna be brutal. And yeah, there's a whole list of other fixes. I'll leave a link in the description down below. So if you were experiencing a specific issue, you can check if that issue has been fixed or not. Because if I'm gonna read all of this, it's gonna make the video kind of weird. I never had the chance to try out the grenade bug, but it seemed really fun. A small little change that I noticed is that now when you log into the game, you spawn at the bridge. So now you're a lot closer to the map selector and you can start your fight for democracy without wasting any time. So yeah, guys, that was it for this video. Hopefully this video was informative. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, I hope I earned a like and a subscription to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day. Peace.